Good morning, everyone. Who wants to start doing some role plays? Let's jump in there. Let's go. How you doing, buddy?
Sure. Yeah.
Let's come up with a topic, and I don't know who else in here can jump in with you. Adam, you okay with that? You want to jump in?
Uh, yeah, let me just pull over. I was just driving.
Sounds
I can do
good.
the solar.
Yeah, Consuelo, that's perfect. Let's do it. All right, you guys are on.
Cool. My scenario is calling it expired. Does that work for you, Consuelo?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Ring ring.
Hello?
I am looking for Consuelo.
This is it.
Well, good morning. This is Max. I'm actually calling about 123 Cherry Street right there. And the reason for my call is I see that it just recently left the market. I was curious if you had a game plan for getting it back on and getting it sold.
Yeah, we're just gonna wait for probably 3 months and then maybe we put it back on the market. I mean, you can give me your phone. Maybe we can call you back once we're ready because we're just gonna take a break.
Okay. Understandable. Honestly, it is very understandable. Now I'm just curious, you say you're waiting 3 months. I can see that it was on the market for about 60 days there, and it's in a super desirable area. Was there any particular reason you would even want to sell that home?
Yeah, well, we needed to buy a bigger house. So that was mainly the reason why we were selling. But since it didn't sell, we didn't have any showings or anything. Um, I mean, I guess the market is kind of like down right now. So we're just gonna wait a little bit and then maybe put it back on the market
Gotcha.
once we see it's a better time.
Gotcha. I mean, is it even an option for you to buy your next home without selling this one, or is it one of those situations where you just want to get all the equity out, or you have to get all the equity out to buy the next one?
Yeah, no, we definitely need to sell this home in order to buy the new one.
Gotcha, gotcha. Now it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that next home that you're moving into, do you have that all lined up as of yet?
No, we were waiting to see what happened with this one, and then we would start looking for another one.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Now, and this is for Wisconsin. We have had the great fortune of still being in a seller's market, and we have been selling homes quite literally within 3 days. If you were to sell your home, get an accepted offer within 3 days, and then 30 days later, a moving truck of somebody else's is in your driveway, do you know where you'd be going to?
Yeah, no, I would need to make a plan first. I mean, yeah,
Okay,
I would
so
need to
it's
sell this. It wouldn't work that way. But I know that once we had it under contract, then we can start looking for our new home.
okay. Yeah, so my thought process is obviously, correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't want to be homeless.
No, not at all.
Gotcha, gotcha. So regardless of what offer you got, I mean, what if it was $60,000 above asking? You don't know where you're going to next. Is that the case?
That would be the case. I guess we need help with that. Yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha. So it sounds like securing your next living situation is going to be a vital thing in this process. Now, tell me, are you actually looking within that same community up there at Willow Creek, or are you looking outside that community?
No, it's probably just in the same area, just because, like I said, we just need a bigger home. But we like this area, so yeah, we're just gonna be looking in the same area.
Gotcha, same area. And I guess what's important to you about staying within that same area?
I mean, we like the school here. My kids are in a great school district. But like I said, we just need a uh, another bedroom, probably a two bedrooms, because we have two daughters and two boys, and they were sharing bedrooms. So we definitely need more space.
Gotcha. So yeah. So you're running out of space there in your original home. And
Yes.
obviously it sounds like that move was kind of important to you like 3, 4 months ago. So I guess my proposal may be I call people every single day just like this, and there are opportunities both on market and off market. Are you aware of those opportunities that of agents who are able to help people align them without ever going on market? Does that sound like something that might be interested? You may be interested in finding more about opportunities that literally you don't even have any competition for.
Yeah, but like I said, we were on the market and there was no showings for our house. So I'm just like, we're just gonna wait until hopefully the market gets better and then we will move. Like I said, you can give me your information and once we're ready, we can definitely give you a call.
I'm absolutely going to do that, and that timing is going to be very important to you. And, you're talking about moving up within the same community. I'm assuming the same school district. Is it important that those kids are stay in that school district and have that environment? So I guess my initial thought is it sounds like you're kind of running out of room within the home. It would be ideal for you to get into your next home if for whatever reason you knew that that was possible to still do. Is that something you would even want to entertain now, or is waiting just something that you and your family need?
No, I mean, we would definitely do it if it was possible right now. But the same thing said my other agent. He's like, we're going to sell it in like a month, and it didn't happen. So what makes you think that that's going to happen with, I don't know, whatever marketing you guys do?
No, absolutely. And it's not to brag or boast, but within your community in the past year, we've sold 37 homes. 37 different families have felt they've been in the exact same situation that you have. And we've been able to partner with them and get them to their next location successfully. And in that information that I'm going to send over to you, how about this? What's the best email for you?
Yeah, you can just send me your info by text message on this number.
Sure. How about this? I'm going to send you a link, and that link is going to open up and it's going to show those 37 people with their face, with their face and their testimonial and their phone number underneath it. And you can call each and every one of them and ask them what their experience was like. Because right now, I believe you may be having a feeling that this is not really possible for you in the next 60 days. Is that the case?
Yeah, I guess that's the case. I mean,
if you
I've
knew
been
without a
having
shadow
lot-
of a doubt that you and your family could be in that larger home and you could be experiencing everything that you were hoping to experience, that does sound like something you'd still be interested in.
I would, but can you tell me a little bit about what you guys do differently by the phone?
Yeah, absolutely. Two things. One, I have no idea what most agents do because most agents fail out of the business. 98% of agents fail out of the business. So I don't even pay attention to what they do. Two, I can absolutely demonstrate what we do to help people sell homes. And three, we can also review what happened the first time when we're in the home to tell you exactly how that agent failed you the first time. So if that makes sense to you, what I'm proposing, I guess, and may I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Absolutely. How about this? In an ideal world, under normal circumstances, would it be beneficial to get together probably late afternoon or early evening to kind of walk through exactly how you could be in your next home in 60 days? Do you think late afternoon or early evening would work better for just a very, very quick pop by?
Yeah, so the thing is, like I said, we already decided to wait for maybe like 3 months. So I would need to talk with my husband and see if he even wants to act now.
No, understandable. And honestly, I don't know if your relationship is like mine. I don't make any big decisions without the approval of my wife. So here, how about this? I do know that those conversations are very, very important to you. And you're telling me that you want to wait, and I completely understand that. But as we kind of had a moment there where if it was possible for you to make that transition within 60 days and still reach your goals, does that sound like something that your husband would be interested in?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, how about this? It does kind of make sense that we could pencil something in with a huge eraser. That way, if anything came up, we could immediately scratch it out and go about our day. But I do think that it would be beneficial for like a 5 to 15 minute pop by just to really evaluate what that situation is and see if we could get you into your next home in 45 to 60 days and really reach those goals of yours. Does that sound like something you two would even want to entertain for 5 to 15 minutes? If not, if you want to wait the 3 months, retest the market, kind of do this all over again, and maybe be in the same position, that's totally up to you.
Yeah, sure. We can plan something, and then I can tell him if he wants to actually meet.
Okay, totally cool. How about this? What is tomorrow at 4:15, or would 6:30 work better for you?
6:30 would be fine.
6:30 would be fine. And then when we sit down with your husband present.
Yeah, I'll talk with him. If anything changes, then I'll let you know. But
Okay.
yeah, I guess he can be there.
And then I am just curious, like, what is his feelings about the move again?
I mean, we all need to move. It's not that we just decide. I mean, we have to move.
You have
We
to
need
move.
something bigger.
Okay. And it's just we need to are like our kids sharing bedrooms at this point?
Yes.
Gotcha. And it feels like everybody's on top of one another.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing that that's a realistic possibility, I'm pretty excited about the opportunity to kind of demonstrate exactly what that process would look like. So you said tomorrow at 6:15? Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, yeah,
fine.
let's pencil that in for tomorrow at 6:15. I am going to send you over information about myself, my business, as well as those past client testimonials. They're videos, so you can watch them, and their number is going to be right below them. If you want to call them, they said that it would be absolutely fine for you to have a conversation because I know what it's like to get a peer-to-peer review and have that open and honest conversation. I'm going to shoot that over in text form in about probably 30 minutes here. And then right before tomorrow's appointment, either myself or my assistant is going to reach out just to make sure that that time frame still works for you and your husband. Does that work?
Yeah, that works.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I'll shoot that right over. And then would you do me the biggest favor in the world?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. When I shoot that link over, feel free to, or please open that and just kind of go through that material. And then while I have you on the horn real quick, I'm just going to ask you a few questions so that when we sit down tomorrow, I can really value your time, you and your husband's time. And that way I can be as concise as possible so that we can make decisions very, very quickly, whether it's myself, another agent, you guys will have more information that you know what to do with. Does that sound fair?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And then I would drop into prequel.
All right, good. How'd that feel to you, brother?
Fucking terrible.
I don't think it's terrible, dude. It's good. So I want to give you some, first is like what's working. Again, I want to acknowledge you because you still have the courage to hop up into this. Most people hide out. Your comfort zone is a place of hiding. It's a place of hesitancy, and it's a place of hindrance. Most people would love to get on this call and listen. Very few actually have the intestinal fortitude to practice live. Okay. So I want to acknowledge you for that. The second thing I'll acknowledge you for again, your voice is, I don't know if that's something you can do anything about, but it's good, man. You got good phone voice. Like somebody, like if I close my eyes, I'm like, yeah, I would talk to this person. You know what I'm saying? Like it's friendly. It's inviting, right? Good. All right. So areas of improvement. Oh, and other things you're doing good is you're asking lots of questions, which is also good, right? Most people make statements, they don't ask questions. And it's only through asking questions that I can discover if somebody has a need that I can service. Then and only then does it make sense to go into a closing sequence. All of you guys that are on this call that start closing before you know what the problem is, that is a recipe for getting hung up on. Okay? So you're doing that well. Areas of improvement. Conciseness. I would call it economy of words. How can I get to where I want to go faster? Right? So I've only spoken to you, Consuelo. I can hear in your voice that you're super excited about this move and you still want to make it happen for your family. I'm wondering, how does your husband feel about it? right? There was like a lot of conversation to get to that, but I can ask a clear, concise question that brings it right to its head very quickly. Then there was a lot of explanation about videos and like all of this stuff. And what I'm aware of is I would be like, hey, bro, like you're calling me and you're giving me homework now? Like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? We're instead like, hey, what I'm aware of based on what you've been kind enough to share with me, this is still important for you and your family. And I understand you're discouraged, right? At the same time, if you guys knew very clearly and concisely, simply by adjusting the approach, augmenting one of two things, you could actually make this move happen in the next 30 to 60 days. Is that something you would be open to or you'd be interested in? Well, what makes you different? Yeah. I know it's difficult to tell what makes people different, Consuelo, because everybody who's talking to you is saying kind of the same thing, right? Yeah. Well, in our business, Consuelo, the talk is the same. The results are completely different, right? We've had the great fortune, and while your home was on the market, we've helped 37 families just like you accomplish their goals. I don't tell you that to brag or boast, but it's just to demonstrate to you we know that it works. The real question here is not whether or not we can help you with the sale. The real question is me figuring out specifically what your family is looking to accomplish and why, and then us together coming up with a game plan to help you to get what you want in the time you want. Does that make sense to you? Clear, concise, right? Versus like circular. And the reason why we end up getting circular is because we're not entirely comfortable yet. Yes?
Yeah.
Look at Lico. He's like, yup. That's why we do that. That's why we circle around. It's like hovering around, right? And what leads to comfort is confidence. And the word confidence is confide. And what that means is to trust. The only way I can get trust in this conversation is through repetition, because it's a reoccurring conversation. They're going to say the same thing. They're either going to say, I'm not sure what we're going to do yet, or I'm going to relist with the same agent, or I'm interviewing agents. Like there's only a handful of options. They're also going to say to you, what are you going to do differently? They're going to say, where were you when my home was on the market? Right? I mean, they're only going to say a certain amount of things. So by continuing to practice that conversation, I can have clear, concise responses and not get lost in a word salad of explanation. Yes? So like I could tell you over the phone, Consuelo, at the same time, I wouldn't be able to show you and prove to you specifically what we're doing to help families just like yours in this marketplace. What's also true, it's very difficult for me to diagnose which variable is causing your home not to sell unless I physically have seen it. And I'm sure that makes sense to you. So I guess I'm wondering, I've only spoken to you and I can hear in your voice this move is still important to you. How important is it for your significant other? Like, are they on the same page as you? Do you see how I did that? Where like I handle it, it's clear, concise, I move on, I ask another question. Versus like a long explanation looking to get agreement. Make sense?
Yeah.
So two things. It's not, when you say it's not terrible. Trust me, I've been on these calls with lots of people. That's not terrible. Okay. It's just there's areas of improvement and tightening up. That's all. Make sense?
Yes. Yep.
Good. Do you have any questions about anything I just shared with you?
I do. From where I am to the next mountain peak, like from where I am talent wise to the next step feels like a monumental leap.
Which is great, by the way, because remember what I shared on last call, that like frustration is an indication that you're in the process of learning something.
Yeah. Yep.
And I need you to understand, I'm going to put it in a different context, but it doesn't make it any different. So there's like an anointing and then there's an appointing, but in between them is a season of disappointment. And the reason is so that way when you get to the appointment, you can actually stay there. So when you're frustrated, it's an indication that your brain is trying to figure out a multidimensional, multifaceted skill. No different. Like if I was to put you like, okay, so I don't ski, let's say, right? And I actually went skiing with Jose, and you know what promptly happened as soon as I hopped on the skis? I fell down and I couldn't get up. Like literally couldn't get up. Okay. That's normal when you're learning how to do something new, because my body's trying to figure out, okay, like how do I distribute weight? right? How do I balance, on these skis? How do I know how to lean forward or lean back? Like there's this whole precise concoction of movements that I have to make in order for skiing to actually be skiing, right? And the same is true here. The second thing that's true is I want you to consider mentally, because oftentimes frustration gets in the way of learning, right? When it's actually a normal process of learning. So there's a wonderful book called Mastery. It's written by a guy named George Leonard. And he was this very interesting individual. And amongst other accomplishments and achievements, he was a black belt in Aikido. And he started to teach beginners, right? And he noticed a few things. One is he noticed patterns emerge amongst students. The second is he noticed this idea of a plateau. So what happens is when you're learning a new skill, let's say Danielle wants to learn how to play pickleball. She gets all the gear, she gets all the equipment, you know what I mean? She learns the language, all that stuff. She goes out and plays. She will see a burst of improvement because she goes from, I don't know anything to I know a little bit of something. Well, then invariably what will happen if you've ever played pickleball is you'll start to play players that are better than you, and you'll realize you're not actually that good. And then you hit a plateau, right? The name of the book is Mastery by George Leonard. Then you'll hit a plateau. Now, most people, when they hit the plateau, they fall into a category that he talks about in the book called the dabbler, right? So what happens is you get really excited about the new equipment, you get really excited about the new sport or whatever, you get the new shoes, you look real cute and everything, and then you have this burst of energy, growth, but then you hit a plateau, and the moment you hit the plateau, you know what people start to say? Well, you know what, Lico? I don't know if this prospecting thing is for me. You know what? I don't know if this lead source is the right lead source I should be calling. You know what? There's other ways of getting business. And then do you know what the dabbler does? They promptly go find something else to get excited about and start the process all over again. Yes? Okay. Yeah, look, Danielle's like, yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly what they do. Okay. And we all and he noticed this when he was training new students, right? Another one is what he calls the hacker, which is, let's say we're playing tennis and you have a really good forehand, but because of that, you never learn how to use a backhand. You just ride on the fact that you got a good forehand. A lot of people do that in sales. They're like, well, I have a good personality. I got the gift for gab. And you try to sell with personality. Well, here's the thing. A, you're not that cool. And B, you're not that awesome. So what happens is you get limited in your level of production. Yes. So agents will say to me, well, that's not my style. I'm like, okay, you're allergic to money then, is what you're telling me. You're telling me you have a really good forehand and you don't want to learn how to have a backhand. Yes. It's lazy, right? So the awareness, though, is that I want everybody on this call to really hear me, okay? If you are on the road to mastery, most of your time will be spent on plateaus. We operate under the false misperception that what it'll look like is this, like a straight up kind of stock ticker. No. What'll happen is you'll have a burst of growth. You know what? Max can actually sound like he kind of knows what he's doing on the phone. He's got good phone voice. He's asking good questions, and you get a little bit of success. Now, what happens when we get a little bit of success often is, where does it go directly to? Our head. You think you're the man. You take a month off for vacation. You start messing around. I got this in the bag. Yes? Then reality punches you directly in the face. Oh, I'm not as good as I thought I was. Oh, the money ran out. Oh, I wasn't working 90 days ago, and now I don't have that many leads. Yes, Danielle? Yes. So that's a plateau. Now, how I respond to plateaus is critical. The amateur's way of, how do you think amateurs respond to plateaus?
Change direction.
Either they change direction because they're like, this isn't for me, or what?
They're not even aware that they're there.
They're not even aware they're there. What else? They promptly have a nice little temper tantrum. This isn't fair. I'm trying so hard. I deserve better than this. Ah. Yes? So the way that they respond is either to retreat or to like stomp their feet. Yes? Which are both what? Immature. It's not what leads to mastery. So how I respond. And the reason why I'm talking to you about how to think about this is because the best thing you can get from someone who's a little bit further down the path, let's call them a guide, is access to the way that they think, because the way that they think allows them to do what they do. So imagine, and I'm not suggesting you're doing this, Danielle, this is just for illustrative purposes, is if Danielle's response is to stomp her feet and have a temper tantrum and retreat, and the other person's response is to say, wait a minute, frustration's good. It means I'm on the process of learning something. And success is a series of well-managed breakdowns. And as long as I'm on the path to mastery, I will be on plateaus. That means I'm right on track. And instead of responding with immaturity and stomping my feet, what I'm going to do is continue to go to the well and continue to do the fundamentals. I'm going to continue to seek out people that are believable, which means they've actually produced the outcome that I wish to produce consistently over an extended period of time. Most of you guys don't vet who you listen to. And we live in a world where you don't have to be competent to be famous. Most of you guys have been to training events. I don't know about you. I at the end, you're like, what did that person just say? What does working out have anything to do? Like, I love these real estate coaches that like post about them doing Ironmans. Can I ask you a question? What exactly does that have anything to do with selling real estate? Oh, that's right. Nothing. Yes? So I seek out people that are believable, right? They've produced favorable outcomes consistently over an extended period of time, and I continue to keep practicing. I continue to keep showing up fully and completely, day in and day out, independent of those voices in my mind, independent of the doubt, independent of my mind telling me, hey, you need to go get another job. Independent of your significant other who means well, or family members who mean well saying, hey, I don't know, Lico. You may wanna. Yes? So how we respond to plateaus is critical, guys. The way I respond to plateaus is like, oh yeah, truthfully, as I'm saying to you this, I want to leap out of the sauna. The reason is because I get excited. The reason I get so excited is because this is what separates me from the rest, team. Yes? Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. That's what Mike Tyson says. This is what separates me from the rest. Is because when I'm on a plateau, I stay to the fundamentals. Guys, I role play twice a day, 6 days a week for 3 years in a row. Twice a day, 6 days a week for 3 years in a row. I was having a conversation with somebody, and then I'll, step off the soapbox. He's a guy in an organization, and he's a well-meaning guy. He's got a good heart. He recently got married. He's talking about having kids because that's what happens when you get married. You get pressure to do that. And he's been on vacation, I don't know, 5 times this year. Weddings, trips, all this stuff. I asked him if he's coming to a large event that our company is putting on, EXPCon. He was like, no, I don't have plans on it. I said, hey, bro, I mean this with love. Your priorities are off. You know what he said to me, Danielle? Well, you got to have fun and spend time with the loved ones. I said, okay, I get that. When played out to its fullest, what that leads is to excess. I asked him to add up all the time he spent not working this year and all the money he spent pursuing pleasure and fun. Yes? Then I quoted him the Bible, which says, a good man will leave an inheritance to his children's children. And he who doesn't provide for his own, and particularly those in his house, is worse than an infidel. Yes? I said, you abdicating that responsibility to have fun ain't it, brother. It ain't it. Then I quoted him Corinthians, which says, when I became a man, I gave up childish things. Yes? Childish is having a temper tantrum when you hit the plateau. No? Childish is giving up because it's gotten difficult. Yes? So you're in the right place, bro. You're doing the right thing. This is a plateau. My intention in speaking this into you, the word inspire, means inspire means breathe. It's to breathe life inside. Oftentimes what I do for our organization or for our coaching clients, half of it is technical knowledge, what to say. Do you know what the other half is? I am lending you my belief while you are figuring out how to do it. And then as you do it, you end up cultivating belief yourself. Yes? That's how that works. So that whole word salad is to really address the thinking, because that's the main issue. Recognizing that a plateau is normal, bro. If you're on the road to mastery, most of your time will be spent on a plateau with short bursts of growth. It's just that most people give up on the plateau. They get discouraged on the plateau. They listen to other people on the plateau that push doubt, worry, like all that stuff into your mind. The second thing is get excited when you're on a plateau, bro. This is what's going to differentiate. This story you are going to tell when I put you on a panel about, hey, Max, do you remember when you were frustrated on a plateau? And you'll be like, yeah, brother. And I'll be like, how did you respond to that? You'll be like a kid. I was having a temper tantrum. And what did you do? I stuck with it. And where are you now? Yes?
Yeah.
All right.
And my turn.
Hey, don't you love the young buck energy? They're like, let's go. All right, let's go, bro.
All right. So expired, okay?
Yep.
All right, ring.
Hello?
Hi, Aaron?
Yeah, this is Aaron.
Aaron, hey, good morning. I was calling about your property over on 123 Main Street.
Yeah. Is this an agent?
Yeah, this is an agent. And listen, Aaron, the reason for my call is that your property obviously recently came off the market, and I was reaching out simply just to find out if and when you plan on putting it back on the market so that, you can accomplish the goals and objectives that you initially set out.
Time out. All of this is good only because I can see you and only because I've addressed it with you. Do it again, but smile.
Okay.
Exactly. You're being super serious, bro. Like, just relax. We're just people talking to people.
Okay. All right. Ring. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, Aaron?
Yeah.
Aaron, hey, good morning. This is Bahati. I was calling about your property on 123 Main Street.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah,
time out. How many people noticed the difference besides me? Yep. Immediately. Yes?
Yeah.
I can feel it in your energy. I can feel it in your voice, right? And that's why you think I'm being like a punk, just like, like I'm being difficult. It's not. There's a very specific purpose and reason. Most of us address these calls. We're so serious. We're like, wow, my name is Aaron and I am calling about the home that's for sale up on that. Like, don't do that, bro. Like, this is a good improvement. So run it back again. Do it again.
Okay. Ring.
Hello?
Aaron?
Yeah.
Aaron, hey, good morning. This is Bahati. I was calling about your property on 123 Main Street.
Yeah, this is.
Yeah, hey, Aaron, the reason for my call is that your property obviously recently came off the market, and I was reaching out simply just to find out if and when you plan on putting it back on the market so that, you can accomplish the goals and objectives that you initially set out to achieve in the first place.
I don't know, Bahati. You're like one of 20 people that have called me today, man.
Are you serious? Oh my gosh. I'm sure you already got a bunch of calls, Aaron. And look, I can completely understand that you might be frustrated. So look, I'll tell you this, okay? I'm going to make sure to make a note on my end. I'll never call you again. But since I do have you on the phone, I guess I'm curious. I was looking at the property. It's in a very great geographic area. It's very well upgraded. Was there any particular reason you were even considering selling in the first place?
Good, time out. So this is good. So we're smiling. You addressed when I said 20. Now, who can tell me what he deployed in his answer?
Was it the take you off my list?
That's part of it. So I wouldn't say I'll never call you again because I'm probably going to call you again. Instead, I'll be like, yeah, I'll be sure to take you off the list. And yes, Alona says like, I diffuse pressure. Like there's no like, hey, no, I'll be sure to take you off my list. But there's a very particular characteristic that he is deploying when he says, hey, I understand. I'm sure you've been frustrated with all these calls. What is it?
He said that
responding.
you're frustrated.
Yes. So what is he demonstrating?
He's acknowledging you.
He's labeling.
Somebody, Jay, whoever Jay is empathy. I need you guys to understand, okay? If you want to be perceived as a guide to help people to solve their problems, you have to deploy two things. One is empathy. Sympathy is I feel for you. Empathy is I feel with you. Yes? Because let me ask you a question, Danielle. If you woke up to 20 people calling you, salespeople in the morning, would you be slightly perturbed? Yes. Even though you're a salesperson. Right? How many of you guys are slightly perturbed when a salesperson calls you? Yes? Yeah, exactly. So for me to, what he's doing right there, and the reason I'm breaking this down, this is like a mastery level course, is I want you to see what's happening underneath. Because I need to understand what's happening underneath. You know, knowledge is not necessarily power, it's applied knowledge. Like if you can do something on purpose, that's where it becomes very powerful. So what he's deploying here, he's like, yeah, listen, I understand. Sounds like, you've gotten a lot of phone calls. I'd be frustrated too. Listen, I'll be sure to take it off my list. So now I've relieved the pressure, right? I've demonstrated empathy, which helps to position me as a guide. Now I'm going to ask another question. If you don't mind me asking while I have you on the phone, I mean, your home's lovely. It's in a great geographic area. Hopefully I'm not being too straightforward. Now, when I say hopefully I'm not being too straightforward, what am I doing?
You're diffusing it before you ask the straightforward question.
You ask a straightforward question, and if you don't have a diffuser in front of it, like a little kind of diffuser on a gun that makes the sound quieter, right? A silencer, what's going to happen?
It's going to be loud. It's going to be invasive.
Too loud, and you know what Lico's going to say? Hey, bro, that's none of your business. Yes? So, hopefully I'm not being too straightforward. I'm curious. I mean, was there any particular reason you were even considering selling it? And notice what's happening in the tonality. What am I saying in my tonality without saying it?
Why would you even sell it?
Why would you even do this? Like, that seems ridiculous. Now, what is that encouraging them to do?
Drop their guard.
And to talk to you. Which, is that the whole point? Yes. Because without them talking to you, I can't discover what their problem is and if I can help them. Make sense? Good. I just want to make sure you guys are clear on what's happening underneath. Continue.
So was there any particular reason you were even considering selling in the first place, Aaron?
The home has served its purpose. Kids are off in college. So, we got a lot of equity. We just wanted to cash out and perhaps, relocate, downsize sort of thing.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it sounds like you're in a great position. I mean, now that the kids have came out, you guys have built the equity along the years. I guess I'm curious, where were you guys planning on going to next?
Yeah, I mean, we were going to stay locally here. In fact, we already had a kind of a community picked out. We had a home picked out. Construction, but we weren't able to execute on it because we didn't get the home sold.
Oh, really? So what happened to the property that you guys were already excited for?
Yeah, we weren't able to close on it, and we just had to miss out on that opportunity.
Okay, so did it end up selling, or is that still a possibility for you guys?
All right, time out. So here, there's an opportunity for you to deploy more empathy. What could you say?
I don't know. If I was in your position.
Hey, well, let me ask you a question. Let's reverse this. So let's say you, Bahati, had a home on the market for sale. You've raised your kids in this home. You wanted to downsize. You have this whole future in your mind about what it's going to look like as the downsize and all the things you're going to be able to do and all the money you're going to free up and all the things you could do with your time. How would you be feeling afterwards if it didn't happen?
I'd be super bummed, depressed, and I'd be like, fuck.
Well, that's one way to put it, I guess. So, and all of that can culminate in one word. It's called disappointment.
Okay. Better word.
So what you could say is, gosh, I mean, I have to imagine that was very disappointing. And I'm wondering, like, is that something that is still important for you and your family? Or have you just kind of resolved that you'll stay in this home forever? Now, the other thing I want to point out to you is I'm noticing you're saying I'm curious a lot, which is good. That's a good initiator. If you keep saying it over and over again, it doesn't sound authentic. So you want to interchange I'm curious with I'm wondering. Tell me. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Because if I was talking to you and every question I asked you, I said, I'm curious. Hey, Bahati, I'm curious. Hey, Bahati, I'm curious. Hey, Bahati, I'm curious. What would that cause you to feel internally?
Annoying.
Yeah, annoyed. And like you're not real, you're just like a robot. All right, continue.
Okay, so now it sounds like you guys already had the next step planned out, and obviously it fell out. I'm wondering.
Did you see him? He caught himself. He almost did it again.
Because my job is to help you, Aaron. It's never to talk you into doing anything. Is that still something that is really important to you, or have things changed forever?
Yeah, no, I mean, we still want to do it, but we're just not sure what we're going to do next. So if you want to give me a call back, maybe in like a month,
Okay.
I'm having a conversation with you. You've been really, kind of polite more than these other agents that are calling me.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I'll make a note here and make sure to give you a call. While I do have you on the phone.
Time out. If somebody gives you a compliment, what is that permission to do?
Close, I'm assuming?
Yeah, but you don't do it like you close directly for the appointment. Instead, what I would do is somebody says, yeah, you've been really polite. Well, I appreciate that. Sounds like you're beginning to see why people like you hire me all the time for the job. I guess I'm wondering, go to another question.
Wait, where does that come from, though? Now you're beginning to see why people are hiring me for the job.
Yeah, because I said to you, I'm like, well, you've been more polite than the rest of the agents that I've been speaking to.
So I already know that I'm the best one for the job, and now you are starting to realize it just based off.
So just because when everybody gives you a compliment, if they're like, hey, Bahati, you seem pretty persistent, or hey, Bahati, you seem pretty aggressive, or hey, Bahati, you've been kind, unlike these other agents, or you know what, like you're the only one that I've spent the time and I've actually talked to. Everybody else, like I just hung up on. All of those are permission to kind of enter into an assumptive kind of close in a way, right? It's not like I'm closing directly for the appointment, but I'll say something like, well, just by you saying that demonstrates that you're beginning to realize why people like you hire me all the time for the job. I guess, or, hey, I appreciate your kind words, Bahati. It sounds like you're beginning to see why people like you hire me all the time to help them when their home's not sold. I guess I'm curious, and then I go to another question. Yes?
Yep.
Okay, continue.
So just by you saying that, Aaron, it demonstrates that you are beginning to see why people hire me for the job of selling their home and helping them accomplish their goals and objectives. Based on what you've told me so far, it sounds like you still want to make the move happen, but you're just not specifically clear through no fault of your own. You're not clear as to why it didn't sell or potentially what you need to change to ensure that it does. I guess I'm curious, how did you happen to pick the previous agent?
Good. Okay, so what's happening there, guys? Guys, I don't know if you realize this. If you go to Juilliard to master vocals, what we're doing right now is what a master vocal coach will do with the person that's trying to learn vocals. They will stop them every 5 seconds, right? Inputting instruction. So, what's happening when he says that? What are you doing underneath, Bahati?
I'm planting a seed of doubt.
Yeah, and what am I telling them without directly telling them?
It was the agent's fault.
That's right. And what do most people do instead?
They tell them that it was the agent.
And let me ask you a question. If somebody tells you something, will you argue with them?
Yeah.
Yeah. But if they infer it, will you argue with them? Do people ever argue with their own information?
No.
So that's a very subtle way of introducing, hey, that's the reason why I didn't sell. Make sense?
Yep.
Good. And let's say I'm like, well, I don't know, man. They said it was the market. They were kind of blaming the market. They were blaming interest rates, kind of the election and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I could see why an agent would say that to explain why they didn't get the job done. I guess, what I find really interesting, Aaron, is that in the time that you were on the market for the 6 months, do you know how many properties actually sold in that price point that you're in?
No, I have no idea.
There was a total of 6 properties, Aaron, that sold in that price point. So the question isn't really whether the market is the right time to sell or not. The real question is why people were buying other homes and they weren't looking at your home to purchase.
Hey, I'm quiet on purpose because you're like, huh? So that is what you're doing is you're making a statement. There's an element of doubt as to the reasons why you believe it's not selling or why the agent believes it's not selling. You're giving them evidence to the contrary. You know, what's really interesting is we look at these numbers all the time. While your home was on the market, gosh, I mean, there were 15 properties that actually sold. Did you know that? And they're like, no. It's like, yeah. So it's really not a question of whether or not people are buying and selling. They definitely are. What the real question is specifically how come they're not choosing yours? I'm wondering. Yes. So whenever I throw doubt bombs or grenades, think about it like it's like there's this doubt bomb and I'm like, and I just throw it in the room. I want to keep moving along. You don't just want to sit there and be like, ta-da, because then it gets awkward and weird.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Continue. Here, run it back, do it again, and then run through to the next question.
Okay. So, yeah, and Aaron, what I find is that while you were on the market for the 6 months that you were, let me say it again. Okay, Aaron. So what I find is that when you were on the market for those 6 months, what's really interesting is even in the market that we're in, are you aware of how many properties actually sold in the price point that you're in those 6 months?
No.
There's actually 6 properties that sold within that price point. So, Aaron, to be straightforward with you, it's not really a question of whether your house can sell or not. It's really a question of why buyers were picking other homes compared to looking at your home and purchasing your property.
Good.
So
now, wait, time out. I know where you're going to go. You're going to ask another question that was on point. What I'm doing there also is neurolinguistic programming. It's like, this is not the question. This is the question. I'm taking your brain off what you think it is, and I'm saying, nope, look at this. Don't look at this. Look at this. So the real question isn't whether or not people are buying and selling homes. They definitely are. What the real question is, yes, is very specifically, how come they're not choosing yours? I'm wondering. Pick up from I'm wondering. What's the next thing you're going to say?
I'm wondering, what do you feel your agent should have been doing to make sure that your property sold just like the other 6 that sold in that time frame?
Yeah, the only thing that I would add to that is like an adjective, and it's neurolinguistic programming again. So, so I'm wondering, because you strike me to be someone who understands this process pretty well. Hey, does flattery always work? Yep. So I'm wondering, Consuelo, you strike me to be someone who understands this process pretty well. What do you think you feel like what do you feel like the previous agent should have been doing so you could do something simple, which is to get an offer on the property and make this move happen? When I say simple, what does that imply? Is this a complex thing?
No.
Simple. Make sense?
Yep.
Good. Continue.
Okay, and I see why you felt that was a good idea. And I'm wondering, Aaron, you strike me to be someone who understands this process pretty well. Being that it didn't sell, what do you think the agent should have been doing?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess they could have been like a little bit more proactive. I mean, they were calling me frequently. Like I'd have to reach out to them.
Wait, I'm sorry to cut you off, Aaron. You mean to tell me that the agent wasn't giving you updates every week, calling you frequently, letting you know how come the home wasn't selling and what you need to change to ensure that it does?
No.
Wow. Well, Aaron, let me be the first to tell you that you definitely deserve better service than that. And I'm wondering, because again, I can hear in your voice that you still want to make this happen. You're just frustrated with the process. So I guess I'm curious, if you had an offer that was very reasonable, very acceptable, of course, in the next, 30 or 45 days, that would allow you to still make the move and find the next home that you were talking about, do you think that you would still sell the property?
Yeah, I mean, we probably would.
Okay. Well, look, Aaron, just by you saying that demonstrates that we should get together and discuss the option. May I make a suggestion?
Go ahead.
So this is what I'd suggest. I'd love to pop by, take a look, see what the property has to offer in person. And while I'm there, show you a couple of things. Number one, how come it's not selling very clearly and specifically? Number two, what you would need to change in terms of more proactive and aggressive approach to get an offer that's acceptable. And then, Aaron, I can answer any questions that you may have. And at least this way, whatever you decide to do, whether you put it on the market with me or somebody else, you'll have all the most important information you need so you can make the best decision for you and your family in terms of how to proceed. Does that sound fair to you?
Yeah, so that's good. So little things there, right? So it's clear to me you've been practicing, which is good. And all this is like tightening up, right? So when you were like, may I make a suggestion? You're asking permission to close. I was quiet and I was testing you to see if you would wait.
I've heard you talk about that 100 times on YouTube.
Yeah. So most people are really uncomfortable in silence, so they fill the air with nonsense. So I was doing that on purpose to see if you would bite, right? The second thing is when I said like, nah, they weren't calling me, you did the right thing. It was a little too much. Right? So I'm like, yeah, they weren't calling me. Like, what? Like, you're doing the right thing. I would just dial it down a little bit. So they're like, yeah, you know, they weren't calling me every week. Wait a minute. You mean to tell me that they weren't giving you a call every 7 to 10 days, letting you know what's going on and what adjustments you needed to make in order to, you know, get an offer on the property and get it sold? And they're like, no. Wow. Well, let me be the first to tell you that you definitely deserve better service than that. So it was the right move. I would just dial it down a little bit. Okay. And then when you go into the closing sequence, well, may I make a suggestion? You did the right thing. You were patient. You listened. And you waited for me to say yes. Sometimes you might have to wait 15, 20 seconds, and that'll feel like a lifetime. But you're asking permission to close. Don't proceed until they give you permission. They'll either say something like, I'm listening, or go ahead, or you can make a suggestion. I don't know if I'll do it. Say, well, based on what you've been kind enough to share with me, I'm hearing a couple things I would recap clearly. Number one, you still want to move. And you still want the new lifestyle of having, you know, a smaller home and like that sort of thing. The second thing I'm hearing from you is that really through no fault of your own, you're not specifically clear as to why it's not selling or what you would need to change to ensure that it does. So what I'd like to do is this, and I really wouldn't mind. I'm in the area all the time anyway. What am I saying there when I'm like, I'm in the area all the time anyway, Lico? What am I saying?
Like I'm gonna come over. Or,
No.
You do a lot of business in the area.
Ah, yes. I know your neighborhood very, very well. Yes. Yes. I'm in your area all the time anyway, Danielle. So what I'd like to do is just pop by, take a look, see what it has to offer. And while I'm there, I'll show you two things very clearly. Why do I always put things in twos? Who wants to tell me? Yup, Lico, this is an education, brother. He's got to think today, baby.
2 options. Make it simple, or else people get confused when that.
Yes, because our brains break down. All you guys have been at a sandwich shop and they say, Danielle, do you want mustard? And you're like, sure. And you're like, what kind of mustard do you want? And they're like, what kind do you like? You're like, what kind do you got? And they tell you 15 mustards. What happens to your brain? It completely shuts down. You're like, I don't even care. Like a yellow one, like, right? So I only give 2 because either one of these I'm okay with. Notice when we're setting appointments, hey, so if we were to get together under normal conditions, would you be available in the evenings or the afternoons? How many options?
2.
Okay, evenings for you. Is that usually at 6 or a little bit later at 7? How many options?
2.
I make it easy for you to make a decision. Yes? So while we're there, I'll show you a couple things really clearly. The first one is very specifically and realistically, how come it didn't sell? And what we need to change in terms of a more proactive and aggressive approach to ensure that it does. The second thing we'll go over is the most amount we can expect to receive with that proactive and aggressive marketing program in place. And net bottom line, what the proceeds would be to you that you can take with you to the new home and to enjoy, you know, in this downsize. And then at least this way, whatever you decide to do, whether it is sooner or later, how many options?
2.
Me or somebody else? How many options?
2.
You decide to sell or you don't. How many options?
2.
You will have all the information you need so you can make the decision that you feel is best in terms of how to proceed. Does that sound fair to you? Yes? So again, knowing why you're doing something is actually more important than doing it. So the first place to start, like Max was saying, and this is good because I got to bounce on another call on it. I love how it wraps up perfectly and organically. The initial foundation is learning what to say. Most people never take the time to figure it out. They're always constantly, perpetually in this like limbo of like, well, you know, I got to work on script practice and I gotta practice and they never make the decision to just ingrain it in their being. Some people it takes years. Some people it's a whole damn career. Okay. So that's step 1. I have to learn what to say and how to say it. If you role play twice a day, 6 days a week, you do that for a year, I promise you'll be better. It'll be ingrained into your being. You won't have to think about it anymore. Wouldn't it be amazing if you go on appointments and not have to worry about what to say? Then you can focus on who? Them. Which who is it actually about? Them. Step 1. Step 2 is to become a serious student and understand what's happening underneath. You know, I'm actually, I'm writing a book right now and I was just working on it this morning. And what I was saying is an analogy that's perfect for this is all of, whether it's setting the appointment, whether it's the pre-qual, whether it's the listing presentation, it's all designed towards one end. What is the end?
Help them.
Help them and to get a contract signed. Yes? And in American football, do all plays lead to a touchdown? Or are all plays a 90-yard bomb? No. You get a 2-yard run, maybe you lose 3 yards, then you get a 7-yard pass, then you get a 15-yard QB scramble, yes? But the goal is to progress it down the field in order to score, yes? That's what this is. It's all designed towards that end. But in order to master it, you have to become a serious student. If I was to look at your bookshelf right now, how many books do you have on persuasion and sales? Would I say you're a serious student? Based on your role play schedule, would I say you're a serious student? Would I say that you're trying to master this? Based on like okay, I told somebody on a call recently, I'm like, we all worship something. And what's interesting is we train algorithms to show us stuff, yes? With our attention. So if you give me your phone, Lico, I can show you what you worship. I can show, Bahadi's smiling on that one, team. I'll show you what you worship, bro. 100%, because you train the algorithm what to show you. Yes? So, it's a process. You're on the right track. If I'm on the road to mastery, which is the road you want to be on because money follows mastery, I'm going to be on plateaus. It's going to take time to figure it out. Keep plugging into believable people. Keep practicing. Keep having the courage to step up. I've noticed that the same people are stepping up every time. Guess what's happening? They're improving the most. So I would challenge everybody on this call, other than Bahati and Max, that the next time, I won't be on next week's call because I'm going to be in EXPCon. I'll be speaking there. But on the next call, to jump up, step up, because your comfort zone is a place of hindrance. It hinders you from your full capacity. It's a place of hiding. You hide out because you're worried about looking like a fool or messing up or whatever. And it's a place of hesitation. You're waiting for the right time. Well, I'll speak up and role play when. That's a recipe for never improving. Your boy's out. Peace.
Thanks, Aaron.